Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever it is that you are in the world. Hello, what's popping? Tonight, we're going to talk about, is Trump finished? Is that a bit of a stretch to say? Perhaps, probably so. But he definitely absolutely has a lot of baggage right now that isn't helping him for 2024 and is looking like it's potentially giving our good old boy Ron DeSantis a much earlier promotion than perhaps all of us expected. Also, I'm going to dive into a little bit more of just the self defeating nature of the red pill community and kind of how often within the content creators that you see more and more the ones that are popping up, especially in the newer trends, it's just guys that are spreading the message of it's hopeless, bro. When the big bad women are out to get us. So we're going to talk about a lot of that because it really is a big deal, especially because you know a lot of a lot of people have always come to me. Well, not always, but especially in my adult life, have come to me just for advice about dating. And initially, I kind of made a little bit of content here and there where I talked about it, but the more I see the prevalence of the manosphere and the red pill community taking over, the more I see that there's really a lot of opportunity for people to step in and just give a little bit more of a positive take on things. And especially content creators who actually have real experience with women to step in, because a lot of these guys don't. So, as I'm sure a lot of you have seen, just in general, Letitia James up here in New York has really been slapping uh, the Trump family around hard. But like I said, Donald Trump, before we even get here, he lost the 2020 election by over 7 million votes. He lost pretty handily to a president that really wasn't popular and still isn't very popular. But over the course of the last few weeks, Joe Biden's popularity has been rising, and the Democrats' popularity in terms of their future has been rising because more and more people see opportunity within the Democratic Party as women are registering to vote to protect their rights, to have a say so over their bodies. As more and more people in the younger generations are registering Democrat, not to vote centrist, not to vote for, quote unquote moderate Democrats, but to push for more progressive candidates or candidates at least who stand in line with policies that, will help us make more money, help us have a better education system, healthcare, you know, the whole nine. So, Donald Trump, his organization being slapped with a $250 million fine from Letitia James. Her pushing for that from the state of New York, her pushing for Donald Trump, along with his children, to be barred from basically doing business in the state of New York for 5 years, as well as receiving loans. Now, Donald Trump already had pretty big issues receiving loans because he doesn't pay people and he owes like hundreds of millions of dollars, over $1 billion, to banks all over the world, and he doesn't pay contractors, he doesn't pay workers. That's what he does. He doesn't pay people. So but this is a bigger deal as well if it goes, through for Donald Trump's kids, as they aren't necessarily beholden to all of Donald Trump's debts, as well as the incident in Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump having access to a bunch of documents that he really didn't have any business having access to. Him saying, I pretty much can, whenever I just declare and decide that something's classified, that's just what it is. Of course, there's a process to classifying or declassifying anything. It has to go through an orderly, step-by-step bureaucratic process. You can't just, it's classified. That's not how it works. So he stole these documents and, just all of these things, one after the other, more and more of his business practices being exposed. Not that the general public hasn't known for years, but, more and more of these things being taken to task by people like Letitia James, whose general message was that if a regular person in the state of New York or a regular person in the United States had committed the atrocious amounts of fraud that the Trump family and the Trump organization did, they would have been thrown in jail a long time ago because we have line after line after line of hardcore, real, tangible examples of, oh, Donald Trump inflated this by $200 million and he inflated that by $500,000. And, and claiming that something that's actually worth $75 million is worth 700+ million is property there down in Mar-a-Lago. That's what he does, So now the issue is, a lot of people feel like Donald Trump is, Teflon. Well, a lot of that really is just his branding. Now, has he gone to jail? No. But if you really pay attention to the details, Donald Trump just lost the 2020 election rather handily. Uh, he continuously loses court cases because he doesn't pay people. He's always having to settle out of court. While he was in office, he had uh, to pay $25 million for Trump University because he scammed and defrauded all of those students. So Donald Trump is continuously having to shell out money here and there. He's continuously destroying relationships. And at the end of the day, he's just a man. When you have someone like Ron DeSantis, who has issues of his own, but within the Republican Party, he's much stronger than Donald Trump. He's younger. Even if Donald Trump, let's say nothing happens to Donald Trump. Even at that, Ron DeSantis is still the future of the Republican Party, but his promotion may come sooner because people, we still got another 2 years, and as people see more and more that, okay, Ron DeSantis is younger, he's still popular with the base. He's pulling acts and policies and stunts that his base likes. Liberals may not like it, but his base does like it, and is probably not going to face many repercussions for that legally. He's easily the king of Florida in terms of, ain't nobody going to beat him in a gubernatorial race, gubernatorial race rather. But so it's gonna look like people may start leaning that direction as Trump is just has all this chaos around him. Because what the hell is Donald Trump gonna run on in 2024 with all of this mess happening around him at the same time? He's not going to be able to talk about anything to do with policy. Donald Trump is just going to be talking about himself. He's going to be talking about how he won the 2020 election, how all this stuff happening around him legally is a witch hunt and a wild goose chase, and how he's being treated so unfairly. He's going to be going after any Republican who isn't fully behind him. And more, there's Republicans who aren't fully behind him because, again, the walls are breaking. He's becoming more and more weak. So that's the reality of it. He's going to be doing is whining and crying and complaining about himself, and he's going to be totally caught up in all of his legal issues. Meanwhile, you have someone like Ron DeSantis, who's much younger and doesn't have all of this baggage. So again, Ron DeSantis may be getting that promotion a lot earlier than we expected. Also, while you have Joe Biden, he's not particularly popular, but the fact is that the Republican Party just reversed Roe v. Wade, which is horribly unpopular, which is driving women to, register to Democrat, driving more than the younger generations to register Democrat. Lindsey Graham coming out with this 15-week federal abortion ban that even Republicans are against him for because it's wildly unpopular, and he's even arguing for it, saying that, oh, this is going to be fine, people are going to be totally down with it. But obviously we know that isn't the case. And then Ted Cruz and other Republicans literally trying to reverse Joe Biden's student loan forgiveness, which obviously isn't popular with the public either. And then on the flip side, you had Democrats who got some infrastructure passed through. Also, Joe Biden just forgave 20 million people student loan debt, and even more people with the 10 to 20,000 range who made 125,000 or less for single households, 225,000 or less for coupled households. So that's tangible. That's something. And when you balancing out the two, the Republicans just are looking more and more in a bad spot if they don't actually offer something to the public, which it's not looking like they're in any type of a rush to do. The state of Texas, they just banned 801 school books that cover things like, racism and race and LGBTQ representation and, things like that. Because, of course, they're so conservative and they're so for their freedom of speech rights. But this is a Republican Party we're dealing with. So, again, it's looking like Ron DeSantis may get that promotion earlier than expected. And Donald Trump really may be screwed. His businesses are in trouble. And again, at the end of the day, he's just a man. And power goes towards wherever there's more power. And he's leaking it. So we'll see what happens with it. Next, we're going to go into the self defeating nature of Red Pill content creators content. First, I'm gonna take a sip of this. You dig? So I always get the gallon water because I don't really like to drink tap water here in New Jersey. It's not the best, you know what I'm saying? So that's just what it is. So again, I'm streaming from here Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm gonna be pushing it more out. I'm gonna be marketing it more, but I'll stream and then I'll make content from this and stuff. And I'm gonna be talking about a lot of things, bringing on guests and shit like that, and making the content better and better. But yeah, so now I want to talk a little bit about, I'm gonna be talking about the manosphere a lot because so much of it is just BS. And it's really easy to, whether it be regardless of what it is, it's easy to get caught up in a deep dark well. You know what I'm saying? That's how people get caught up in a lot of racist views, sexist views, classist views, nihilistic views in general. When you go through hard things, it's easy to get caught up in negativity. And increasingly, red pill content creators really just capitalize off of this in a lot of ways. And as I pointed out before, there are a small handful of people within this space that give generally good advice to young men who are looking for it on, how to stay in shape, how to have a sharper mindset, things to value versus things that aren't, really don't bring you that much fulfillment. There is some good stuff in there, but again, more and more, it's just a lot of negativity, and self defeat. You know what I mean? In the messages, a lot of the messages basically will just be, when women are in their 20s, they do whatever they want, and then they get older, and then they realize that their clocks are ticking, and so then they go after guys that they're just the suckers, and I'm that sucker, and that's always their message. So, because a lot of these guys, they may be in their early 30s or maybe they're younger, you know what I'm saying? But they always see themselves as that dude, as that guy who she doesn't really want. She's gonna leave. She's gonna cheat on. She's gonna, So it's like when you go into the dating market like that, you really can't have any positive interactions with women. They're gonna smell that on you from a mile away because you're already telling yourself what's gonna happen with everybody you meet because it's like there's no nuance, there's no gray area. It's just a lot of the especially again the content creators because they know that their audience gets lost and drowned and binge watches their content because they just say the same things over and over again. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a hug space for like, it's okay, bro. I'm here to protect you from the big bad scary woman. And like they act like it's like finally a place where men can gather and like we've never had those spaces before. Um, but again, these content creators for an hour to an hour and a half, all they're really doing is saying women are sluts, women are useless. Even going as far a lot to say is like, who cares if a woman has an orgasm? Like, well, that's a subject for another day. If you don't care if a woman has an orgasm, that may be why they don't stick around. One of the many reasons they don't stick around, but you probably don't even get that far, which is again why you think that women owe you something. It's just the anger that people in this community have is entitlement because you don't have anything to be angry about. I know plenty of people who, plenty of men who aren't very, physically attractive in terms of whatever society general standards would be. They're pretty short. They may be a little, a little bit overweight, but they cool as hell. They funny. They're confident. They got, they have interesting lives. And they're just good people and they're cool people and they do great with women and they aren't the prototype of what all these guys say. You have to be X, Y, and Z, or else women, you're just a sucker. Versus someone like me, like I'm the prototype of what all these guys think that you have to be to do so well with women. And I do great with women. And a lot of the things in my prototype do help me. I'm 6'6", I'm good looking, I got a great physique, I'm successful. But again, it's those other things, being cool, being charismatic, being empathetic, being able to listen, knowing how to have a good time, all of those things that really do the trick. You know what I'm saying? So, because at the same time, there's plenty of women who, yeah, I got all these aesthetic things and, I'm the prototype, but they're still not interested. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good you look. It doesn't matter how successful you are, how much money you got, how cool you are. There's going to be a lot of women who, they're not interested. And they may not be interested for a lot of reasons. Because these guys talk about women like they have no practicality in their decision making with men. It's just all like, oh, either you're alpha and she can't resist you, or you're too beta and she'll be out the door. But, especially once you get past that euphoria stage, women become pretty practical. If they're healthy, especially, they become pretty practical about how they go about dealing with men. You know what I'm saying? Like they start thinking about like, well, that maybe we live an hour away from each other. That may be a little difficult and we got to address that. Or our careers aren't really that compatible. Or maybe there's certain things about his views towards family or his views towards religion, or they start thinking about stuff like that. You want to know why? Because they're people. It's not that complicated, but these guys don't see them as people. So again, like it's really just not that healthy or helpful of a space, because people get there and then they just get lost in the negativity. You know what I'm saying? And they just come out and then they literally start saying things in self-defeat, to where it's like, basically, if a woman's choosing me, bro, it's because she's on her last leg and she needs X, Y, and Z. And she's just waiting on some other giga chad to come along, and I'm just a sucker in the meantime. And it's like, well, if that's how you see yourself and that's how you treat yourself, then of course other people are gonna see you like that. You know what I'm saying? And it just bleeds through, because it's like, oh, there's no hope for me, bro. There's no hope for anybody out here. Men are so overlooked. And obviously, men go through mental health issues, and men do have legitimate issues in society. But the way to address that isn't to blame women for it. You know what I'm saying? Is to have some introspection. You know what I mean? And to, like I talked about last week, get over whatever it is that you so caught up on. It's really not that big of a deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, let some time go past. Shit really ain't that big of a deal. But yeah, so I'm gonna continue to talk a lot about the manosphere, and as I keep doing this, again, I'm gonna have more like just planned out content, and do a whole lot of different types of stuff. Bring people on to talk with me, bring y'all along with me when I'm doing all types of shit. But again, tonight, I think the important thing to address was, is Trump finished politically? Maybe a little early to say that, but he's definitely got a lot of issues. And Ron DeSantis may be getting that promotion sooner than we thought. And the manosphere is just, it's so self-defeating, and it's not helpful. It's just really not. The more and more I study it, the more I really look at it, the more I see it's just, man, there's a lot of better examples to look towards. So join me next Tuesday.